What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for a review of the third studio album by the American rapper, singer, and artist Post Malone called Hollywood's Bleeding. It's a pretty quick follow-up to last year's Beerbongs and Bentleys. So here's a brief history of me and Posty over the years. His debut album Stony, I could take it or leave it. Flick it out into space, it wouldn't bother me one way or the other, although there's a few songs on there that I do dig. We got an uptick in quality, I think, on Beerbongs and Bentleys. A fun album that definitely had some sad bangers, but also some happy ones. There were definitely a few cringy moments, but overall, I think the good outweighed the bad, and I was starting to see that he had this raw vocal talent, and I liked when he sang and pushed that more to the forefront, and I'm happy to say that Hollywood's Bleeding kind of continues that trend. Unknowingly, we were getting singles for this album all along. Dating back to last year, we had Sunflower from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack, which, shout out to that film, incredible. One of my favorite movies of the 2010s decade. Also, we got Wow, which I felt indifferent on, and then Goodbyes featuring Young Thug. All of those tracks eventually led to the announcement of Hollywood's Bleeding after the release of Circles, and here we are today. What did we get on this record? Did we see another improvement from Post Malone? It seems as though Post is diversifying his sound once again, as he did on Beerbongs and Bentleys. This time he's kind of tapping into everything from synth pop to hip hop, of course, riding out some trap waves. You're going to hear plenty of skittering hi-hats, don't worry if you need your fix there. But also, he combines these elements with figures of rock and also hip-hop. It's a nice crossover event, and I feel that the guests on this album actually make sense. More often than not, it doesn't just feel like a verse being chimed in as an afterthought. There's some actual intertwining of vocals, and they pair up and take on these songs, and the topics that they're talking about, they make sense. It's not just a random verse shoehorned in last second. While Hollywood's Bleeding is only one track shorter than Beerbongs, this is a significantly shorter album. It's only about 51 minutes instead of an hour and 5, which, thank you for listening to us on that one, because that was one major complaint I had with Beerbongs. It was just about 5 songs too long. It was really running itself out, overstaying its welcome. This feels more concise, even though there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of tracks to pay attention to. It's understated in some ways, but it also feels like the majority of the tracks are serving a real purpose. When Post breaks out the singing but also has some decent flows on an album, then you know that you're mostly in for a win. I feel that this album is pretty much a treat to listen to because it does kind of hop around without feeling too off the beaten path. It's sticking to a narrative, and that narrative is, okay, I'm going to have fun sometimes, I lighten up, but also, I keep getting screwed over. All of these people in Hollywood were stabbing me in the back, fucking me over, taking advantage of me, and I love seeing this play out. Post is getting his revenge by putting the lyrics out there, putting them on blast, and it feels kind of refreshing, honestly. And again, the featured guests here on this album do make a lot of sense. I feel that the track with SZA was total fire. I also really appreciate that the Blizzard of Oz himself, Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath, is on this fucking record alongside Travis Scott. What the hell is even 2019? The quality of the track list is slightly inconsistent, although again, he's learned to abbreviate, so it feels like less of a problem this time around. There's a lot of songs that are gonna please a lot of different types of fans, and that's what an artist like Post Malone is really good at. There might be a few songs here that are gonna appease the trap fans, and then there's some that like his more acoustic side, and they'll dig Circles, and then there's other tracks that like the collaborations, so they'll love Die For Me with Halsey, and also Future on the track. Hey now, let's not turn this into a circle jerk for Post Malone. I mean, honestly, there are some pretty big flaws lyrically on the album. It's just that some of them are easier to look over because it's not like Zack and Codeine levels of bad and some of the other bangers that just had these really weird lines, although there are a few cuts that I'll talk about in a minute that just really pushed the wrong buttons for me lyrically. More often than not, though, this album keeps its head down and it just keeps chugging along. There's a good pace to it. It's easy to just play through. Some of the songs you're probably already familiar with, and they go down just as smooth as ever, and the new ones in the mix, they're kind of a welcomed addition. Why not open up by talking about the opening track, the title track, Hollywood's Bleeding? This song does a fantastic job at building suspense. It also drops you into the album. It gets you into the theme that you're going to hear about a lot more, being stabbed in the back, or maybe Post being used for his image, for his clout, all of these fake people surrounding him. What Hollywood's Bleeding, the track, does right is that it sets the bar high for what you're going to expect on the rest of the album. The atmosphere is very tense. It feels like a dark, cold fall night. Maybe you can see your breath out there and you're just hearing him air out his grievances. We hear more mentions of similar things as we continue on through the album. On the Road featuring Meek Mill and Lil Baby is another example. Also Die For Me with Future and Halsey. I think Die For Me is definitely the standout between those two cuts, although I appreciate Meek Mill and Post, not so much Lil Baby on the Road. It does a great job at kind of talking about how he's just trying to pick up and get out of this feeling that he's been in, these people that have been so fake, or possibly even a relationship that's been so fake for him. But on Die For You, I honestly feel that all three people here did a fantastic job. And I'm no Future fan, but I can admit when Future turns in a good verse, this is one of those. Also, Halsey, I think I kind of miscomprehended what her verse was at the first time that I listened to the song. But honestly, after a few listens, I feel that this does a great job at kind of balancing out a female perspective to what Post and Future are both saying. Honestly, there were a lot of mixed signals, a lot of cheating, infidelity from all parties involved, it seems like. And the way that it goes down is just a lot of fun to listen to. Really enjoyed Circles, more acoustic based. It reminds me of Stay, except with a more spry bass line. And I do like to hear the more natural instrumentation that's incorporated to this album. I think that Circles is a definite jam. It's something that I've continuously looped ever since it dropped. Staring at the Sun with SZA was a great collaboration. Their voices, when paired up together, it's pitch perfect. The harmonies, everything in the background, the way that they kind of ramp their voices around each other, and it feels like they're playing off of each other's energies. That's something that I can appreciate, especially in this world where we live in this fabricated collaboration world. Like, it's okay, they turned in a verse, great, I put it on the album, and it doesn't feel like a genuine connection. This actually felt more real to me. The final half of this album, namely that last quarter, probably holds it back a little bit more from unleashing its full potential. Some of the songs like I Know are more frustrating, and also I'm Gonna Be, which gets really stale and repetitive. It's got the message of, oh, I'm gonna do what I want, and I've heard that about a million times, and I don't need 1,000 repetitive words coming at me to remind me of that. Internet was a really weird moment because it opens up by Post kind of poking fun at Instagram models and everybody else that's just out there flexing on the gram, on social media, and he talks about how he's stepped away from social media, which I can definitely relate to. I've done that myself. But I just feel that the lyrics don't quite add up for what this song is trying to be, and the string section, it felt a little bit forced, let's be honest. It was a little cheesy. I'm also pretty indifferent on 1,000 Bad Times. I just don't feel that the vocal melody on that one, or just the production, or really anything about it makes it special. So why am I going to come back to this one when I could come back to some of the other more fun tracks? Even Saint-Tropez, which is a great banger, the second song on this album. Enemies with DaBaby was actually a lot of fun, surprisingly, although not a top favorite for me. But oh my good God, Take What You Want is an incredible song. I did not see this collaboration coming, but it floored me. Ozzy Osbourne's vocals on this are pretty chilling. The way that they kick in with that light guitar, the electric going in the background, then the percussion coming through, Post and Ozzy trading off for the choruses, and then Ozzy delivering that final blow before a guitar solo? What the hell? One of my favorite guitar solos of 2019 is coming from a Post Malone song. When you wrap it all up, this album does go a little bit all over the place. Allergic got doo-woppy, Sunflower got synth-poppy, and you also got rocky with Ozzy Osbourne on Take What You Want. This record does have a lot to offer for a lot of different types of music fans, and I highly recommend that you check it out. This is a really solid album that definitely is a slight uptick in quality once again from Beerbongs and Bentleys. There are things that are holding it down, and I'm really conflicted as far as the score goes because it's really hard to put it out there. There's so many tracks and there are misfires on the album. I rated the last record a light 3.5. I'm going to give this one a very strong 3.5. Could be upgraded to a 4 over time, but for now, I'm keeping it safe and giving it a 3.5 out of 5. I would love to know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments section down below. And hey, while you're here, drop a like on this review. A like goes a long way. It really does help support the channel, pushes it out further into an algorithm, and I appreciate it. Other than that, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring that bell so you get notified when I upload in the future. If you want to see my thoughts on Beerbongs and Bentleys, perhaps you missed that, then tap this card here, or tap here for another recent review. All of my social accounts, including my Patreon, can be found down below, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.